One of the most frequently asked questions in any real estate related Facebook group on the internet throughout all time, what CRM should I use? The correct answer to that question is you should use whatever CRM that you will use. I've had some CRMs that I did not use, but I will use Follow Up Boss. If you're watching this podcast on YouTube, this is the Follow Up Boss logo on my shirt. So let's talk about why you should use a CRM and then how you can get that CRM to work for you, because just paying for a CRM is not good enough. You actually have to put some thought and effort into setting that CRM up to work for you. So let's get to it. Welcome to the Savvy Agent Podcast, where we help real estate agents build a thriving business so they have financial freedom in their life without having to work 24/7. I'm your host, Heather Wright. Now let's get to it. The first thing is, what is a CRM? CRM stands for Customer Relationship Manager. And so that is essentially a database where all of your customer related information is kept in an organized place where you can easily access it for that particular customer. In this case, client and customer are interchangeable. These are the people that we know that are in our database that we want to follow up with regularly so that we remain top of mind, and they use us when they need a realtor and give our names out as referrals when people they know need a real estate agent. So a CRM not only helps you keep track of all of your customer client information, their email, their phone number, their address, their spouse's name, their kids' names, their closing date anniversary, their birthday, whatever information you want to track, you should be able to put that in your CRM. And then it should also contain the communication records that you have with that particular client. So email threads, text history. Did you have a phone call? What was that phone call about? So there's no sense in keeping that information all up in your head when you can document it in a CRM so that you don't have to rely on your memory for 3 years until they call you back about something and you can't remember what you talked about last time. Or if you have a particularly litigious client and you're very careful about documenting all of your conversations or documenting certain things on email, then you can always go back to that CRM to see that you did your job, you did your due diligence, and that is very clearly recorded in your CRM. So it not only helps you keep track of information, but it also helps you cover your ass. And then you can use the CRM to stay in touch with people. And if you have a good CRM, like Follow Up Boss, you can use it in a way that helps you work smarter, not harder. Let's say you have 1,000 people, 1,000 contacts in your phone. Those are people you might know, people you might not know, people that you happen to have their phone number, but you don't know them anymore. All of it is so random. But if you're just working, if you're using your phone as your CRM, then you're kind of going through alphabetically. Okay, well, who should I call today? Well, let's work on the C's. Call the people whose names begin with C today. And that's certainly one way of doing it. And any action is better than no action, but there's a better way. Wouldn't it be nice to be able to reach out to the people that might actually need your help right now? I think so. A good CRM will also help you stay on top of any new leads that you get, whether those are internet leads or referrals or an old past client reactivates themselves by wanting to sell their house or buy another place, whatever the case is. When you can categorize those people in a way that forces you to pay them attention, whether you're physically paying them attention or whether your system is doing it for you because you forgot to do your follow-ups for a few days. And so now the system is sending an email out for you because you set it up to do that when someone is categorized a certain way. So it helps you follow up with your new leads. It helps you stay in touch with everyone that you know. It's helping you work smarter, not harder. And I don't know about you, but I work pretty freaking hard as it is. I don't need to be working harder. I need to be working smarter. And I think that is probably true for most real estate agents out there. Even the ones that don't actually work very hard would probably say they're working pretty hard, and we need to all be working smarter. Take it easy on ourselves and be smart about the work we do. Another feature about Follow Up Boss, which is the CRM I use, it is the CRM that I recommend, whether or not that is the one that you like or choose or whatever. Follow Up Boss has a section called Deals, and it helps me track my sales pipeline. It has its imperfections, like everything does, but it's really helpful if we're in a team meeting talking about just being able to see it in a different view, to see who our people are that are in the pipeline and what part of the pipeline in the transaction that they're at. So that's definitely nice to be able to have a different perspective when you're working with actual transactions. Now, there's a lot of different people that you can hire to help you set your Follow Up Boss up. So you could spend $1,000 with Key Technologies, and she does a wonderful job. I have her set up and I love it. It's possibly even a little more robust than what I actually need, because I don't do a lot of online lead generation. I do some, but we're not getting hundreds of leads every single month. Now, if you are getting hundreds of leads every single month, you definitely should get Elena's setup, Key Technologies. I'll put a link in the show notes so that you can easily access that. It's $1,000 and you get, I think over 300 emails. It might be well over 300 emails, plus several different action plans, plus automations. She's got everything figured out and set up on a template where you can turn the switch to on and it automatically is set up for you, and you don't have to do anything, but you should do something. You should make sure that your voice is in those emails, because you're the value proposition. You're the reason people are doing business with you. And so if you don't have your voice, your brand isn't showing up in your email communication, you might be missing an opportunity there. It takes a little bit of time to go through those emails and make sure that they sound like you, but at least you didn't have to write them from scratch. And inserting your own voice is a lot easier than writing hundreds and hundreds of emails from scratch. I think there's also something to be said about making the system work for you, because while this is an amazing templated system, and there are a lot of templated systems out there, lots of people available to do your Follow Up Boss setup. But I think that you definitely want to think about how you do your business and how you want to do your business. Do you want to be a telemarketer and calling people all day, every day? It's okay if you do. I don't. I mean, my system is set up that if I haven't called somebody, it tells me to call them, but I'm going to email them or text them instead. I'll call if it's necessary, but it's just something I don't generally do. And also, my business, 75% of my business comes from past clients, repeat business, and referrals. And so a lot of those are relationship based, where you don't necessarily have a drip campaign that's going to help you grow that relationship. So that's something that I'm going to have to figure out the exact plan that I want to do to stay in touch with somebody. So putting in a little bit of thought, whether or not you use someone's templated system, but using the system, thinking about how you want to do your follow-ups, how you want to follow up with your new leads, how often you want to follow up with them, what is the communication cadence that you want, how many emails versus phone calls versus text messages. It's your business. It's your design. Just because you paid money for somebody else to set it up for you doesn't mean that's the end all be all way. So you can still customize it to work for you. Another thing I really like about the CRM system that I have in place is that it definitely allows me to work smarter and not harder. So when I come to work, I know that I'm immediately following up with my active clients and my pending clients, just to make sure that there's nothing pressing that needs to be dealt with today, because those are the people that I want to feel all the love when they are in the middle of their big real estate transaction. I want them to know that I was there with them every step of the way and never feel neglected. I also want to make sure that any new leads that I got also don't feel neglected. And so those are second priority, where I'm going to give some love to all of my new leads. And, some systems are set up so that once you have that first conversation with somebody, then you don't need to have another conversation for another week or two. Well, that didn't work for me, because I realized there's a lot of information that I have available that a new lead, somebody who just called me up off the street, and said, hey, I want to buy a house. I'm a first-time home buyer. Can you help me? Yes, I can help you. So I need to send them my lender's email. I need to share with them probably a couple of videos that I have done on what to expect when you're buying a house, what to expect in the current market that we're in. We're in a very hot first-time home buyers market right now. And so they need to know that there is no time to waste. And furthermore, they need to know that any house that they're looking at that is move-in ready, they could probably expect that to be sold for significant amount over the list price. Because why would I waste any time teaching them that in real time when I could tell them that in advance? But when you shower somebody, it's almost like when you open the fire hydrant of real estate information in the first 15 minutes that you're talking to somebody, that doesn't make any sense. So I don't want to wait a week to give somebody that information. I don't want them to wait a week so they can forget me. So every day for a week or two, I'm going to look at my new leads that came in and I'm going to give them a little bit of love, whether that is sharing the next step in the real estate process, like educating them on what to expect, or whether that is just making sure they connected with my lender to get pre-approved. I'm going to be on the case. I really like following up with leads in the hot, warm, and cold category. We used to do it a different way where we would assign a tag, like we would add a daily tag if they were somebody that we wanted to stay on top of daily. Do you hear that sneezing in the background? That is my dog. So he has some serious allergy problems going on. I apologize if that was noticeable. So here we are, real life on the Savvy Agent podcast. But we used to add tags based on the communication cadence that we wanted to have. So if we knew we wanted to follow up daily, we added a daily tag, and then we had a daily smart list. And so on and so forth, where we'd have a 3-day tag or weekly tag, biweekly, monthly, quarterly, and then there would be smart lists that would correlate with that. Well, sure enough, people would, like, the tags would not get added correctly. You'd misspell a tag, or you would forget to add a tag at all, or you would have 2 tags on there. So it was a very imperfect process. And so then we have since updated that from the daily whatever cadence tag that we were using to working people in stages of hot, warm, or cold. So they're hot if they're planning on doing a transaction in the next 90 days. They're warm if they're a little bit out from 3 months to 6 months, and they're cold if they're 6+ months out. And of course, some people start in hot, then they move to cold. Sometimes people are just constantly in warm. You never know. It's still an imperfect practice, as all of this stuff is, but it's much easier to not lose any leads. So there's no lead left behind because we're managing them out of stages instead of tags. So I definitely like that new system a lot better than our old system. But that's an example of how any system that you use can work, because any action is better than no action at all. One thing people are often impressed about my follow-up boss is the number of emails in there, because I am always adding email templates. I don't just have what was provided from the templated setup, but if I do a video that becomes an email template, I might email out a batch email to thousands of people at a time. And that helps me stay in touch, top of mind awareness with everyone in my database. And then those people who click on a link and maybe visit a property on my website, they show up in a re-engage smart list so that I can reach out to them if necessary. It's not always necessary, but I make that judgment call when I see the action there. And it's just one more way of working smarter, not harder, because you're reaching out to the people that have expressed some sort of intent. Their intention might be to buy, it might be to sell. They might just be curious, looky-loos on the internet, but versus the people who don't open your email and don't click on any links at all, and you've never talked to them and you're not really sure what the deal is, but they happen to show up in your alphabetical list of the people that you should call today. Well, those people are incredibly cold, like they're freezing, versus the people who have expressed that intention that you can visibly track in your CRM. That is working smarter by spending time on those people instead of the freezing cold people that you're not even sure who they are, but they're in your alphabetical list, so you might as well call them. Plus, how many times have you sent the same exact email out, just you had to type it fresh every single time you sent it? If that is happening to you, and I know that there are lots of subjects that we repeat consistently throughout all of our customers, you could make that a templated email. So then that also helps you work smarter, not harder, because you're saving yourself from having to type it out. I have a market analysis template that I wrote one time. I sent it to one client. I was like, this was a good email. And actually, I'm just as imperfect as the next person. So it probably wasn't in that moment that I recognized that's a good email. I sent the email, the market analysis email, highlighting all the things that we're going to do to sell your house. Here's all the reports that we talked about. Here's more information on me and why you should hire me and who are the people that are going to be helping you once you have hired me and everything that they can expect and all of the resources that I can shower on them right now so that they obviously hire me because that's the goal in that email, right? So then it was probably like a week or two later, I needed to send the same email to my next listing client. I just went back and copy and pasted the email I wrote the first time, edited it a little bit so it can become a template. And so now I have it saved as a template in Follow Up Boss. So whenever I need to send a market analysis email, I pull that template up, fill in the blanks, edit it as necessary, send it. And now I've worked smarter, not harder, because I didn't have to retype it. I didn't have the opportunity to forget to send any valuable information to that client. And it was easy and not time consuming. So everyone's a winner. Work smarter, not harder. Plus, when you have those templated emails, like we have next steps emails. So anytime somebody goes under contract, we send them their next steps. Here's everything that's going to happen next. Now, does that mean they don't ask us any questions? No, they always ask us questions, but we sent that email. And so it still gives a higher level customer experience because if we hadn't sent that email, then, even for the person who does have questions, they know that that's there, that they could go back and look at it as a resource to get their questions answered. Some people just want to talk to their agent all the time. And I get that. And that's okay. We love those people too. But if you know what's going to happen and you can set their expectations in advance, that is going to eliminate fear, anxiety, confusion. It's going to eliminate trouble in the future where they're not going to be upset about something happening because you told them it was going to happen. Now they might still get upset, but that's a different conversation. That's remember, I prepared you for this. It was on your next steps email, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes you have situations that come up where you realize I could have done that better. Today, my assistant sent an email to a buyer who is only buying. She is currently renting and she is buying a new place. But the email that she sent was about leaving the utilities on. And you must leave utilities on until closing because of blah, blah, blah. These things can happen. And I thought, well, this is kind of weird. Why is she sending this email to a buyer? And so I asked her, I'm like, where did she get this email? And she says, oh, it's one of our new ones. Cool. This seems like it would be better going to a seller. What did our old email say? And so then she says, oh, I guess there is an email for buyers only. I said, okay. I said, well, how are they labeled in Follow Up Boss? Is it possible that we could label them better so that you're not confused on what to send to who? And turns out she had saved the template like on her computer. And her response to me was, well, actually, I could just use Follow Up Boss to send the email because they're clearly marked there. And this was my mistake. I wasn't trying to get her to admit a mistake, but that's a really good example of realizing that there's a better way to do it. Because if you have all your templates saved in Gmail or on Evernote or somewhere you can quickly copy and paste, there's still an easier way to do it. And in Follow Up Boss, one thing I love about their emails is that it shows you when they opened it and if they've clicked a link. Now, it doesn't show you what link they clicked. They've got some growth opportunities themselves, but it's still much better than the CRMs I used to pay for and not use because I just wasn't into it. There are also analytics and reporting available in most CRMs, and Follow Up Boss certainly has them. I don't actually use them a whole lot, so I can't speak fluently on the information that you can get from the reporting. I use some reporting, like for batch emails that go out, but I don't stay on top of my agent activity. I just have like the minimum level, the grow level of Follow Up Boss. So I don't have like a big team dashboard or anything that you can see. how many calls everybody's like, we don't have any of that stuff. So it is available if you need it. You may have to take a class from Follow Up Boss on how to use it. And a good CRM will have analytics and reporting available to you, because we all need to track our numbers. Because if you're not tracking, if you're not understanding the data of where you're currently at, it's very hard to get to the next level. So that in a nutshell is everything I love about using a CRM, and the CRM that I use is Follow Up Boss. And yes, I love Follow Up Boss. And yes, I think that you should too. There are lots of ways that you can shortcut your success using Follow Up Boss by hiring somebody to set it up for you. We do have coaching services available if you needed a little bit of extra accountability for using your Follow Up Boss and making it work for you, but you want somebody to hold your hand and make it all better for you during that setup time. We got you covered. So in a nutshell, all realtors should use a CRM, and my CRM of choice is Follow Up Boss. And I would encourage you to check them out if you're not already using them. And if you didn't hear me the 17 other times I said it on this episode, realtors should use a CRM. So get on it, get it organized, and make more sales by working smarter, not harder.